7 men's stories, exciting entertainment.
The indomitable Queen, Elizabeth I and the Golden Age of England. The storm rages, waves crashing violently against the hulls of the ships as the Spanish Armada, an invincible fleet, sails toward the shores of England. On land, a woman waits. She is no mere monarch but a figure of sheer willpower, as unyielding as the tempest that batters her enemies. She is Elizabeth I, the queen who would lead England into its golden age and etch her name into the annals of history. Elizabeth Tudor's early life was marked by turmoil, uncertainty, and danger. Born on the 7th of September in the year 1533, Elizabeth was the daughter of King Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn. Her birth was expected to bring glory to her parents, but disappointment soon followed when she was not the male heir her father so desperately desired. Her mother's execution when Elizabeth was only 3 years old left an indelible mark on her psyche, shaping her views on power, loyalty, and the precarious nature of life as a monarch. Raised away from court, Elizabeth received an exceptional education, studying subjects such as history, philosophy, languages, and theology. By the time she was a young woman, Elizabeth was fluent in several languages, including Latin, Greek, French, and Italian. Her intelligence and wit became her armor in a world where her very existence was a threat to others' ambitions. Elizabeth's half-sister, Queen Mary I, ascended to the throne in 1553 and swiftly re-established Catholicism in England, earning her the nickname Bloody Mary for her persecution of Protestants. Elizabeth, a Protestant, was seen as a symbol of the opposition and was imprisoned in the Tower of London in 1554. During this time, Elizabeth faced the very real possibility of execution. However, her ability to navigate the treacherous waters of political intrigue and her cautious approach allowed her to survive these perilous years. In November 1558, upon Mary's death, Elizabeth ascended the throne as Queen of England at the age of 25. Her coronation on the 15th of January 1559 was a moment of triumph, not just for Elizabeth but for the entire nation. Yet, the challenges she faced were immense. England was divided by religious strife, financially depleted, and isolated on the European stage. One of Elizabeth's first and most critical acts as queen was the establishment of the Elizabethan religious settlement in 1515. This settlement aimed to unite the country by establishing a moderate form of Protestantism as the national religion while allowing certain Catholic practices to continue. It was a delicate balance, but one that helped to stabilize England and reduce the threat of internal rebellion. Elizabeth's refusal to marry was perhaps her most significant and controversial decision. Despite numerous suitors, including King Philip II of Spain and the Archduke Charles of Austria, Elizabeth remained single, declaring herself the Virgin Queen. This decision was partly a political maneuver. By remaining unmarried, Elizabeth retained full control over her reign and avoided the risk of foreign influence through marriage. It also allowed her to use marriage negotiations as a tool in diplomacy without committing to any alliance. The cultural and economic revival that took place under Elizabeth's rule is known as the Elizabethan era or the Golden Age of England. This period saw the flourishing of the arts, particularly theater, with playwrights like William Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe rising to prominence. The Queen herself was a patron of the arts, and her court became a center of culture and intellectual exchange. Elizabeth's reign was also marked by exploration and expansion. She granted charters to adventurers like Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh, who expanded England's influence across the seas. In 1577, Sir Francis Drake became the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe, bringing wealth and prestige to the nation. The establishment of colonies in the New World, though fraught with challenges, laid the foundation for England's later imperial dominance. However, the defining moment of Elizabeth's reign came in 1528 with the attempted invasion of England by the Spanish Armada. King Philip II of Spain, angered by Elizabeth's support of Protestant rebels in the Netherlands and English privateers' attacks on Spanish ships, launched a massive fleet to overthrow her and restore Catholicism in England. The Spanish Armada was one of the most formidable naval forces ever assembled, consisting of over 130 ships and 30,000 men. As the Armada approached, Elizabeth displayed the full extent of her leadership. She visited her troops at Tilbury on the 9th of August 1500 and Untold, delivering a rousing speech that has since become legendary. Dressed in armor, she declared, "I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too." Her words galvanized the troops and reinforced her image as a monarch who ruled with both strength and compassion. The battle that followed was not just a clash of ships, but a battle of wits and will. English naval commanders, including Sir Francis Drake and Lord Charles Howard, employed innovative tactics, such as the use of fireships, to scatter and confuse the Spanish fleet. The weather also played a crucial role, with powerful storms, dubbed the Protestant wind by the English, wreaking havoc on the Spanish ships. In the end, the Armada was defeated, with only a fraction of its original force returning to Spain. This victory was a turning point for England, establishing it as a major naval power and boosting national pride. The defeat of the Spanish Armada was celebrated as a divine endorsement of Elizabeth's reign, and she became a symbol of English resilience and independence. Her leadership during this crisis solidified her status as one of history's most formidable rulers. Despite her successes, Elizabeth's later years were marked by personal and political challenges. The execution of her former favorite, Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex, in 1600 for treason was a particularly painful episode for the Queen. Elizabeth, who had once been close to Essex, was deeply affected by his betrayal and subsequent downfall. As she aged, Elizabeth's inner circle of trusted advisors began to dwindle. The deaths of longtime counselors like William Cecil, Lord Burleigh, in 1500 and Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, in 1500 left her increasingly isolated. The Queen, who had once been surrounded by loyal friends and subjects, now faced the harsh realities of aging and the loneliness that often accompanies it. Elizabeth I passed away on the 24th of March in 1603 at Richmond Palace. She was 69 years old and had reigned for 44 years. Her death marked the end of the Tudor dynasty, as she left no direct heir. The throne passed to her cousin, James VI of Scotland, who became James I of England, uniting the crowns of England and Scotland. Elizabeth I's legacy, however, is immortal. She transformed England from a fractured, vulnerable nation into a formidable power with a flourishing culture and a strong national identity. Her reign is remembered as a time of progress, prosperity, and pride, and she remains one of the most iconic figures in British history. The story of Elizabeth I is one of resilience, wisdom, and unmatched leadership. She navigated the treacherous waters of politics, religion, and war with a sharp mind and an unyielding spirit. Elizabeth's reign was not merely a period of rule, but a defining era that shaped the course of English history. She proved to the world that true power lies not in the strength of a man's body, but in the strength of a woman's mind. The golden age of England was her gift to the nation, and her legacy endures, inspiring generations to come.
Feel free to follow this channel to avoid missing any new content. Disclaimer: the images are AI generated and are for illustration purposes. The stories on this channel are researched to the best of our knowledge.